You know what your problem is, Eli. Lena said it with a laugh, but she didn't blink. You trust people too much. It was at Ruck's, late on Thursday, cheap neon lights spilling onto the pool tables. Cowboys, miners, casino workers. The same crowd as always. My wife, Mara, was at yoga. My best friend, Ray, was running late for the store. I chalked my cue and watched Lena sink a clean corner shot. Yeah. I said. You got a list? She shrugged. You, Mara, and Ray. The way the three of you act around each other. It's kind of interesting. The way she said interesting caught my attention. What's interesting about it? I asked. Lena didn't answer right away. The jukebox switched to some old country song about trucks and heartbreak. She leaned over the table, lined up another shot. Have you ever noticed, she said, staring at the white ball, that your wife laughs more at Ray's jokes than yours? I snorted. Ray's jokes aren't that funny. Exactly, she said and broke the triangle. I watched the balls roll, collide, and come to a stop. Something in my chest did the same. I had known Ray since childhood, since tribal school. Two boys from the Dine tribe ran around, one quiet, the other loud. I was quiet. And I remained so. He did not. Even after we left the reservation and ended up in this dusty town, he remained big laughs, big stories, big presents at every barbecue. And Mara, she always loved big guys. I took my shot, deliberately missing so I'd have another second to think. I noticed the changes, yes. Small things. Mara put on lipstick to go to the store where Ray worked on my clients' trucks. She lingered, listening to his stories when he came in. They would start a sentence at the picnic and finish it in the kitchen, away from everyone else. Little things, I told myself. When did you start studying us? I asked Lena. She smiled. People talk. Hands are a good place to listen. I knew Lena from the casino. She was in human resources. She also dealt in gossip like it was a second job. She was one of those people who liked to point fingers and see who flinched. Are people saying anything? I asked. Relax, she said. You're starting to look tense. How tense? She tapped the center of my chest with her cue. Right here. It's like your ribs are squeezing together. I didn't like that she noticed. We went back to the game, but I kept thinking about, interesting. About Mary's yoga evenings. About Ray's sudden, extra shifts at the store, even though business was slow. I had seen other men destroyed by things like this. One overheard his friend in a cafe, another found old stains on his wife's underwear, another pulled a condom wrapper from under the bed and realized he had had a vasectomy several years ago. At first, they all made the same mistake, they confronted the problem too early, without evidence, and their wives led them on. I wasn't going to be that kind of man. I finished my beer and put the bottle on the table. I'm leaving, I said. Lena raised an eyebrow. Hit a nerve. You wish. She watched me put on my jacket. Ellie, she said, more quietly now. Jokes aside. Just, be careful, okay? Some things don't seem strange until you put them together. I held her gaze for a second. Then I nodded and stepped out into the cold, desert air, that one word echoing in my chest. Interesting. Our house stands on the edge of town, the plaster faded, the wind peeling paint from the porch railings. It's teak nos pos quiet, even though we're now a few hours from the reservation. Mara calls it our little oasis. I liked that. When I walked in, she was standing by the kitchen island with her laptop open and a half-empty glass of wine. Her yoga mat was rolled up in the corner, like a prop someone had forgotten to put away. You're early, she said. The game ended quickly, I replied. She looked at me over the rim of her glass. Did you win? Lena 1. Mara pressed her lips together for half a second. She didn't like Lena, saying she was too nosy and careless. Which was true. That's why people told Lena everything. How's Ray? Mara asked, too casually. Haven't seen him since noon, I said. Thought he was with you. She laughed briefly. Sweet. I opened the refrigerator and took out the leftover stew. Are you working tomorrow? I asked. She nodded. Morning shift at the clinic. Then yoga. Why? No reason, I said. I heated up the food, sat down across from her, and watched her gaze shift between me and her laptop. She was a nurse. Strong. Smart. The first in her family to graduate from college. We often sat up late talking about building something stable. Children. Land. A house that no one could take away from us. We built it. Or so I thought. Everything okay at work? She asked, closing her laptop. You've been quiet. I'm always quiet. She looked at me closely. More than usual. I shrugged. Tires. Transmissions. Paperwork. You know how it is. She reached across the table and put her hand on mine. Warm. Familiar. Don't overwork yourself, she said. It used to sound like love. Today it sounded like a phrase. When she went to take a shower, I sat in the dark living room, the TV was off, and all I could hear was the hum of the refrigerator and the ticking of the wall clock. I looked at our front door. At our hallway. At the family photos. At my parents in front of their trailer in my hometown. At her parents in their holiday best. At our wedding photo, where Ray stood next to me with his arm around my shoulder, smiling like he had won something. Interesting. Around midnight, when Mary's breathing became slow and heavy, I slipped out of bed, took her phone from the nightstand, and ran to the living room. A few months ago, she changed her password. She said she had patient information and had to keep it under lock and key. People always say patient information when they mean secrets. I sat down on the couch, letting the screen light up my face. I tried the obvious birthdays. Mine. Hers. Her mother's. Nothing. I thought about it the way my grandfather taught me to think when tracking moose: don't rush, just follow the pattern. She said she wanted a password she wouldn't forget, even when half drunk. Something old, something memorable. I entered the date we first met in college. The day of the drumming contest. The day Ray introduced us. The phone unlocked. I didn't feel victorious. I felt tired. Messages. Social media. Email. Everything was very clean. Too clean. Several threads had been deleted so thoroughly that I could see the gaps. Ray was far down the contact list, with almost no recent messages, even though I knew they were constantly messaging each other about my trucking business. Deleting texts is also text. I went out, looking for apps that didn't belong there. In a folder called Health, there was one I didn't recognize, a location sharing app. It was turned off. There was no history. She had wiped the phone. Okay. I put it back and lay in bed, staring at the ceiling and listening to her breathing. My heart was beating slowly. That's one of the things I got from my grandfather: when things go wrong, everything inside me freezes. People always think that a loud man is dangerous. They forget about those who are silent. By morning, I had a plan. On the way to the store, I called my cousin Tara. She worked as a dispatcher for the county ambulance service and knew more about people's whereabouts at any given moment than they did themselves. She answered on the second ring. You never call this early unless something bad has happened. Good morning to you too, I said. What's going on? Hypothetically, I said, if a man wants to find out if his wife is really going to yoga 3 times a week. Oh, God, she said. Are we doing that? What's the easiest way to track her without breaking too many laws? She was silent for a moment. Ellie, are you sure you're not just jealous of some yoga pants? I'm sure. Have you talked to her? Not yet. I want to get the facts first. I heard her sigh into the receiver. Okay, she said. Hypothetically, there are apps you can install on her phone. Or a cheap GPS in her car. Or you could get creative and ask her to share her location for safety, and she'll forget to turn it off. Hypothetically. I tried her phone, I said. She's careful. But she loves her car more than she loves me. Buy a tracker, Tara said. $60 on Amazon. Stick it under the wheel. You'll get alerts. Just. Ellie, promise me something. What? If you find what you think you're going to find, don't do anything stupid. Make a plan. Don't blow up right away. You're confusing me with Ray, I said. She made a quiet sound that wasn't quite a laugh. Yeah. Maybe I am. During lunch, I ordered the tracker from my office computer. I had it shipped to a store under the company's name. Mara couldn't see that box. I went back to work, replacing ball joints and talking about trucks with men who had no idea my ribs were tightening. That evening, Mara came home from yoga, sweaty, glowing, and happier than I had seen her in months. She kissed me on the cheek, grabbed a beer, and hummed while she made dinner. Did you have a good class? I asked. Great, she replied. We did partner stretches. I imagined a woman in leggings holding her ankles. I pushed the image away. When the tracker arrived 2 days later, I wasn't sure if I wanted it to show me everything or nothing. Either way, I was going to look. I waited until Saturday morning, before dawn, when Mara was still fast asleep. I slipped out of bed, grabbed the small black tracker, and went outside. The cold air bit my bare feet as I crouched down next to her Civic. The sky above the plateau was just beginning to turn gray. I attached the magnetic tracker to the rear bumper, where road dust would hide it. Simple. At breakfast, she yawned and stretched. You're up early, she said. Couldn't sleep, I replied. Thinking about tires. She rolled her eyes. You and your tires. I smiled. Someone has to. It took her another week to make a mistake. During that week, I watched the tracker signals on my phone as if they were a second heartbeat. Work. Clinic. Grocery store. Gym. Home. Nothing surprising. No motels on the bypass. No trips to the mountains. For a moment, I began to believe that I had let Lena's gossip poison my mind. And then Thursday came. She kissed me goodbye. Yoga tonight. Don't wait up for me. Have fun, I said. I watched the little dot on the screen in my office while eating a warm burrito. The clinic. The grocery store. I had a mental map of the parking lot. She parked in her usual spot, in the middle row. Then the dot moved. Not toward home. Not toward the recreation center where the yoga classes were held. She drove through town, past the railroad tracks, and stopped behind Rook's, in an alley. I put down my burrito. She stayed there for 3 minutes. Long enough to switch cars. Then her car remained parked behind Rook's. The other dot, Ray's big black Tacoma, which I recognized from the cameras at the entrance, left the parking lot near my store and headed for the motel near Highway 9. My grandfather would call this booking math. Simple numbers, simple answers, but people still lie about them. Mary's car is behind the bar. Ray's pickup is driving alone. A yoga mat in her trunk. Interesting. I watched the Tacoma icon glide down the road and stop at the motel. 15 minutes later, Tara texted me. Tara, are you at work? Me, yes. Tara, Just got a call from the ambulance about a drunk at Rook's. Guess who it is? Me, Ray. Tara, no. Mara. I stared at the text. Me, Mara called 911. Tara, no, the bartender did. She was slurring her words on the phone, couldn't stand up straight. Then she suddenly sobered up when the crew arrived. She refused transportation. Said she'd get a ride. I figured she already had a ride. Twice, if he was in good shape. I dismissed the thought before it had a chance to take root. Me, thank you. Tara, do you need me there? I looked at the map again. Ray's van was still parked outside the motel. Mara's car was still behind Ruka's car. No, I wrote. Not yet. I left the workshop in the care of my young mechanic and drove home. I didn't go to Luke's. I didn't go to the motel. I went to my living room, turned on the TV, and waited. At 10 o'clock in the evening, the door opened. Mara came in, smelling of cheap soap and motel air conditioning, as well as a layer of drugstore perfume. Hi, she said, too cheerfully. You're awake. Yes, I said. There was a game. There was a problem at Rook's, she said, jumping right into her explanation. Some drunk guy started hitting on me. I had to give a statement to the police. That's why I was late. You don't drink, I said. She shrugged. Free soda. I looked at her. Something flashed in her eyes. She was testing me. Are you okay? She asked. You're so quiet. I'm always quiet, I replied. She came closer and hugged me around the neck. Let's go to bed, she whispered. I'll make up for being late. The old me, the one before the tracker, would have gone. The new me smelled her perfume and catalogued it like a lab sample. I'm exhausted, I said. Tomorrow is an important day. The fleet is arriving. She hesitated. Just for half a second. There it was, a tiny flash of irritation when her script didn't work. Okay, she said lightly. Your loss. She went to take a shower. I sat down on the couch, the TV flickering with empty light. My phone vibrated. Tara again. Tara, I heard she turned down a ride and then got into a black truck with some guy. The bartender said he was your friend. Me, yeah. Tara, Eli. Me, I know. The evidence was mounting. But I still hadn't seen them together, not with my own eyes. I wanted to. I needed to. Life has a way of giving you what you ask for in the worst possible way. The fatal mistake happened 3 days later. Mara and I were having dinner, eating dry chicken and rice, watching a show where rich people yelled at each other across kitchens. She grabbed the remote. Let's watch something fun, she said. She pressed the button to open the streaming app. Instead, the TV switched to a slideshow of the photo app, a screensaver mode that browsed photos from our shared cloud account. Vacation photos. My nieces. My truck. Mara by the river, laughing. Then the first wrong photo appeared. It was Mara in a motel mirror. The same cheap painting on the wall that I had seen hundreds of times driving by. She was in a towel. Her mouth was open, as if she were laughing or choking. Behind her, blurry but clear enough, was Ray on the edge of the bed, shirtless, with his hand on her thigh. The next photo was even worse. Mara choked on her rice. I saw her eyes widen at first, then go blank, then start darting around the room as if looking for a way out of this situation. She grabbed the remote and started pressing buttons. It must be a virus, she said. Her voice was shaking. Okay. The photo remained on the screen for 3 long seconds, then finally changed to a photo of my mother hugging our dog. I said nothing. She stood up. The TV is acting strange, she muttered. I'll restart the router. She ran out of the room as if it were on fire. I stayed where I was, listening to her frantic movements in the hallway. Cupboards. Doors. The quiet sound of her pulling her phone out of the charger. She had forgotten about syncing with the cloud. I hadn't touched the settings in months. She had become careless. I picked up my phone and opened the photo app. The same photos that were in our shared album. A whole series from that motel room, towels, kisses, selfies, their faces full of stories. The timestamps went back almost a year. They had been together for almost exactly 12 months. Ray's jokes had become nastier around the same time. Mara started doing yoga a few weeks after that. There it was. I ate the rest of the chicken. It was dry as dust, but I swallowed every bite. When she came back, her face pale, the router light still flashing behind her, I looked at her calmly. "Is the TV still broken?" I asked. "Yes," she replied. "I think we probably need a new one." "Maybe," I said. For the first time since this story began, I felt something like relief. Not because I was okay. I wasn't. But because now I knew exactly what I was dealing with. No more guessing. It was time to stop defending myself. It was time to plan. I didn't argue with her that night. But she was waiting for it. I could see it in the way she looked at me when she thought I wasn't looking, in the way she tapped her fingers on the table, in the way she flinched when my phone rang. She started coming home from yoga early. She canceled 2 classes to spend more time together. She made my favorite stew, even though it took hours. It was like watching someone try to put all the smoke back into a burned-down house. I let her. Meanwhile, I worked. The first call was from Tara. "You were right," I said. She was silent. "Are you sure?" "The photos," I said. "The timestamps go back a year. It's Ray." She cursed quietly and evenly. "Do you want me to come?" she asked. "No," I replied. "I don't need comfort. I need logistics." She exhaled. "Okay. What's your endgame?" "A clean break," I said. "No drama that could get me arrested. But I'm not leaving empty-handed, and I'm not letting them play the victims." "That's vague." "I want them to destroy each other," I said. "And when the smoke clears, I'll be long gone." She was silent again, and then I heard a hint of a smile in her voice. "Now you sound like Grandpa," she said. "It could be worse." The next call was to Mr. Ortiz. Ortiz ran a small notary office next to my store. A retired teacher, a Mexican grandfather, he always wore a vest, no matter how hot it was. He answered on the first ring. "Cam," he said. He was one of the few people in town who used the shortened version of my last name. "What's up?" "I need to get some papers drawn up," I said. "Quiet." "I don't do illegal stuff," he replied. "You know that." "It's all legal," I said. "Just timely." I met him that same day at his office. He made coffee as if it were a ceremony, slowly and carefully. "I'm divorcing Mara," I said as soon as the door closed. He raised his eyebrows. "That's sudden." "Not really," I replied. "I'm just late in admitting it." He studied my face, then nodded. "How bad is it?" he asked. "So bad that I won't sleep in that house when she finds out I know," I said. "So bad that I want to protect my assets before that day comes." He spread a yellow notebook in front of him. "Tell me what belongs only to you. What belongs to both of us. What businesses are connected." We spent an hour going through the deeds, the store, the land my parents had transferred to me on the reservation. Bank accounts. Retirement. I listened to his pen scratching. "Are you sure you want to end things so abruptly?" he asked quietly. "Sometimes people." "I'm sure," I said. He nodded. We'll set up a new LLC for the business, separate from the marriage. Transfer everything you can now, before she suspects a divorce. After that, we'll take care of the rest. I'll have everything notarized. And my will, I added. I want to update it. He tilted his head. Are you planning to die? Everyone is, I replied. I just don't want my house to go to her if I get hit by a truck next week. He gave a small approving grunt. Well thought out, he said. Come in tomorrow. We'll start signing the papers. Third, I called Lena. She met me at Rook's the next evening, the same bar, the same neon sign, but the atmosphere between us was different. So, she said, sitting down on a chair. Do you finally see what I see? I took a sip of beer. Mara and Ray. How many people know about this? No, she asked. Or, see, no. Both. She tapped her fingernail on the glass. The staff at Rook's know, she said. Ray isn't very subtle. Married women who cheat are always more noticeable than they think. Several of your regulars have noticed. I'd say half the clinic staff has their suspicions. Maybe a quarter of the town suspects. But no one has any proof except you and them. So far, I said. She raised an eyebrow. Is that what you want? I want them to see what they've done when they look in the mirror, I said. And I want them to know that everyone else sees it too. But I don't want to be the one yelling in the street. She smiled slowly. You're more cruel than you seem, Eli. Yes, I said. I'm just better at hiding it. We discussed the logistics. Ruka had cameras, inside, outside, in the alley. Lena could get copies of the recordings where Mara and Ray met, walked out together, and got into his truck. Nothing explicit, but plenty of hints. That alone won't hold up in divorce court, I said. Maybe not, she replied. But men like Ray. If you post a video online of them sneaking out of a bar with their best friend's wife, or just show it to the right people, they'll crumble before the judge says a word. I don't want it on the internet, I said. I want it in a room. In one room. Once. She looked at me closely. Are you planning some kind of event? Something like that. We agreed that she would take out the cameras and save them on a disk. No copies. No leaks. When I called, she would bring them to a designated location. You know I'm not doing this because I like you, she said, getting up to leave. I just hate traitors. Fair enough, I said. On my way home, I stopped by the gym. Ray's car was in the parking lot, parked in the far corner where the light was dim. I went inside and looked around the gym. He was standing by the benches, showing some guy how to do a bench press, loud and confident as always. When he saw me, his face lit up. Eli, he shouted. Bro, where have you been? Haven't seen you at Rook's all week. Been busy, I said. Contracts with the Navy, inspections. He laughed. Money, man. Your wife said you're swamped with work. She's worried about you, you know. Once, that line would have worked. Now it sounded like noise. Let's have a barbecue this weekend, he continued. You, me, Mara. Like old times. Yeah, I said. Like old times. I moved closer and lowered my voice. Are you free on Sunday night? I asked. Mara and I want to talk to you about something. Adult stuff. Money. Ray's eyes sharpened. Money was his favorite word. Sure, he said. Do you want me to come to your place? I'll text you the location, I said. He patted me on the shoulder. Serious business, huh? Yeah, I said. You could say that. As I walked away, my phone vibrated. A message from the tracking app. Mary's car had just parked behind Ruka's car. I didn't turn around. I'd had enough. Now all I needed was a suitable room. I chose neutral territory. Not our house. Not Ruka's house. Not the store. Too many memories, too many witnesses. I chose a small conference room in the notary's office where Ortiz kept his best pens. For chairs, one long table, empty walls. Simple. On Sunday evening, I stood in that room and laid everything out. Mara, on one side of the table. Ray, next to her. Tara, in the corner chair, for support. Ortiz, at the end, with a neat stack of documents. Lena leaning against the door, arms crossed, a slight smile on her face. I sat down across from Mara and Ray. Head of the table. Quiet center. Mara looked around, confused. "What is this?" she asked. "You'll see," I replied. Ray whistled softly. "Damn, came," he said to Ortiz. "Cool setup. Are you joining the corporation?" Ortiz just looked at me. He became even more motionless than usual. "Thank you for coming," I said in an even voice. "We need to discuss a few things." Mara looked at Tara, then at Lena, then back at me. She licked her lips. "Are we in some kind of trouble?" she asked. I looked at Ray. "It depends," I said. "How do you like yoga?" He laughed, surprised. "Man, I've never seen the inside of a yoga studio in my life." Mara shifted in her chair. "Ellie." I raised my hand. That was enough to silence the room. "Let's start simple," I said. "I want to talk about my business." Ray relaxed a little. It was a familiar topic. "I've been restructuring," I continued. "Tribal land, store, inventory, accounts. Got some new paperwork." I nodded to Ortiz. "We've already filed most of it this week." Mara opened her mouth. "This week? You didn't tell me." "You were busy," I said. She flinched. Ortiz cleared his throat. "Kaminsky transferred the business to a new LLC," he said in a professional tone. "Sole member. He also updated his will. He transferred certain assets to a trust for his parents and Tara as potential beneficiaries." Tara looked at me sharply. I hadn't told her about this. Mara stared. "Why did you?" "Because," I said, "I don't want my shop to get dragged into a messy divorce." Silence. Ray stirred. "Divorce?" he said. "You two, you're a strong couple." Lena snorted quietly, dismissively. I took my phone out of my pocket and placed it on the table, screen up. "Before we continue," I said, "we're going to watch something." Mara's eyes widened. "Ellie, please don't." I pressed play. Lena had edited the video footage into a tight 2-minute sequence. No sound, just video. Mara slips out the back door, Ray arrives 15 minutes later, they meet at the bar, laughing so hard you can tell even without the sound. Then they both go out to the backyard, look around, look guilty, get into his truck. It repeats, different nights, different clothes, same scenario. Tara watched, not taking her eyes off the screen. Ortiz clenched his hands tighter. Lena's eyes were fixed on Mara's face, not the screen. Ray clenched his jaw. "This doesn't prove anything," he muttered. "We're just friends," I said. "Helping each other stretch." The color rose to his neck. Mara swallowed hard. "We can explain," she said. "It's not what it looks like. It looks like my wife and my best friend sneaking out behind the bar to go to a motel on Highway 9, I said calmly. "And that's exactly what it is. Do you want to see the photos from the motel, or are we done pretending?" Her face contorted, then hardened. I watched the change in real time. From guilt to defensiveness. From defensiveness to anger. From anger to something colder. How long have you been following me? She asked. Almost as long as you've been sleeping with him, I said. Ray looked at her in surprise. He knows how long. I gave her time to think about it. About a year, I said. Give or take. Since those cute mirror selfies started automatically uploading to our shared cloud drive. Mara blinked. I realized she didn't know about the cloud drive until the TV incident. It was their fatal mistake, a synchronization setting, a habit, nothing more. Romances die over little things. Tara leaned forward. You've been doing this for a year, she asked Mara in a quiet, dangerous voice that I had only heard during calls with drunk drivers. With him? Maru opened her mouth. You don't understand, she said. Eli's gone. He's gone. Someone had to. Had to what? I asked. Entertain you. Ray shouted, Hey, man, wait. I turned to him, finally allowing myself to sound a little harsh. No, I said. You wait. You stood next to me on my wedding day. You put your hand on my shoulder and swore you'd support me. And then you slept with my wife for a whole year. He flinched as if I had hit him. Good. This is between me and her, he said, pointing to Mara. No, I said. This concerns all of us. That's why I brought witnesses. Mara looked at Tara. Are you really just going to sit there and? I'm sitting, Tara said. You're fidgeting. That's your choice. Finally, Lena spoke. To be clear, she said in a dry voice, the staff at the Hand has been watching your little meetings in the alley for several months. The clinic staff talks. Half the city sees more than you realize. The only person who didn't know anything is the one sitting at this table, and she deserves the truth. Mara turned pale. People know, she whispered. They suspect, Lena corrected. For now. Ray flinched. You're not going to do that, he said. You can't just spread this around. There are laws. Defamation. There's no defamation when it's the truth, Ortiz said quietly. I looked at them. Here's what's going to happen, I said. Mara and I are getting divorced. The papers are already drawn up. I nodded at Ray, will no longer be working in the store. No more contracts. I'll pay you what I owe you and nothing more. I'll send the documents to your address. Ray was indignant. You can't run this place without me. We'll see, I said. Mara's eyes filled with tears. Ellie, we can fix this, she said, reaching for my hand. We can go to a therapist. We can work it out. I pulled my hand away. You've already been to a therapist, I said. You just chose the wrong one. Her jaw trembled. You said you'd never go, she whispered. I didn't take my eyes off her. You said you'd never cheat, I replied. No one spoke. The room seemed small, as if the air had become thicker. Ortiz moved a stack of papers across the table. These are preliminary divorce agreements, he said. Property terms, temporary arrangements. Nothing is final until both parties sign and file the papers. No one is forcing you to sign today. Mara looked at the papers, then at me. You set me up, she said. No, I replied. I gave you a year. You set up our marriage every Thursday. She swallowed. What if I don't sign? She asked in a quiet voice. Then we'll do it the hard way, I said. Lawyers. Court. Witnesses. Video. Anyone who wants to can watch. Ray turned his head sharply toward her. You said no one knew, he hissed. You said everything was under control. She turned to him. Oh, so now it's my fault. It's not mine, he snapped. You kept coming back after the first time. I told you to slow down. I leaned back in my chair and watched, my heart beating slowly, my breathing steady. This was what I wanted, not to yell, not to throw things, but to give them a chance to show each other who they really were. Tara looked at me. "Are you okay?" she whispered. "Ask me later," I said. Lena looked at her watch. "I have 10 minutes before I have to go back to the bar," she said lightly. "If anyone wants more popcorn, now's the time." Ray gave her a menacing look. "Do you think this is funny?" "No," she said. "I think it's predictable. It's different." Mara buried her head in her hands. Her shoulders shook. There were no tears yet. They would come later, when she realized what she had really lost. "Ellie," she said through her fingers. "If you leave, I'll lose everything. My home. My stability. Our family. Please, don't do this. Don't throw us away because of one mistake." "One?" I asked. I let the word hang there. Then I picked up my phone again, tapped the screen, and sent 2 messages. One was to my landlord friend, who had reserved an apartment for me starting tomorrow. The second was to my mother, to let her know that I would be coming home for a few days to rest. My phone vibrated almost immediately. 2 confirmations. 2 doors opening. I stood up. "Where are you going?" Mara asked, panic in her voice. "I'm done for today," I said. "Ortiz will help you with the paperwork. Tara will make sure you get home." Ray pushed his chair back. "We're not done yet," he said sharply. I looked at him. At the man I grew up with. At the man who laughed in my kitchen, helped repair my dad's truck, pulled me out of the ditch when we were teenagers. "We're done," I said quietly. "You just don't know it yet." I turned back to the door. "Ellie," Mara said, her voice trembling. "If you leave now, if you walk out that door, everything will change." I put my hand on the doorknob, feeling the cold metal beneath my fingers. I didn't look back as I answered. "Yes," I said. "I know." And then I opened the door. I walked out of Ortiz's office with nothing but my jacket and the silence that always follows when something is broken forever. The evening air seemed colder than it should have been in this part of the desert, as if the world had shifted a few inches. Behind me, I could hear muffled voices, Maria's sharp voice, Ray's protective voice, Tara's quiet, even voice. Ortiz spoke over them all in his calm, unruffled voice. A moment later, Lena slipped out behind me, her hair gathered in a loose bun. "You handled that better than most men," she said. "I didn't handle anything," I replied. "I just came in and let them talk." "That's handling it." She started to light a cigarette, then stopped. "Do you mind?" "No," I said. She lit it, took a drag, and exhaled smoke into the night. "You know," she said, "most men explode. They bang on the walls. They threaten lawsuits they don't understand. But you? You're surgical." "I wouldn't use that word," I muttered. "I would." We stood there for a minute. "You're not going home tonight," she said. It wasn't a question. "No," I said. "That house isn't mine anymore." "Do you have a place to stay?" "Yes." "Do you have people?" "Yes." She nodded briefly, shook the ashes onto the sidewalk. "Want a ride?" she asked. "No," I said. "I need to walk." She turned back to the office, then looked back over her shoulder. "She's going to fight you," she said. "Ray too. People like them don't accept consequences. They bargain with them." "Let them try," I said. "I'm not bargaining anymore." Lena smiled, subtly and understandingly. "Okay. They don't know it yet, but this is going to be the longest week of their lives." Then she disappeared inside, closing the door behind her. I walked the long block to my truck. The sky was dark, the stars bright, the kind my grandfather said could cut a man if he looked at them too long. I got behind the wheel and looked at my hands, waiting for the tremor that didn't come all night. It never came. Instead, there was a silence I recognized, the same silence I felt when I buried my father, when I stood on the threshold of adulthood after my first tracking ceremony, when I realized that the world doesn't give you peace, you carve it out for yourself. I drove to a rented house on the eastern edge of town. The keys were already under the doormat. Inside, it smelled of dust and emptiness, the walls were bare, the furniture simple, nothing personal. Perfect. I fell onto the mattress without taking off my boots and let my body go limp. I thought the loneliness would overwhelm me quickly. But it didn't. I thought anger would burn me up from the inside. But that didn't happen either. Instead, strategy came over me. Mara and Ray will spend the night blaming each other. Tomorrow they will start rehearsing damage control scenarios, as if rehearsing a play. They would want to get ahead of the narrative, reposition themselves as victims, turn themselves into martyrs in the story they had written together. They would turn to me. They would beg. They would accuse. They would bargain. I would not respond to any of it. This was the part they wouldn't understand until it was too late. Silence is not surrender. Silence is a trap. The next morning, I woke up to 6 missed calls from Mary, 2 from Ray, and 3 messages from Tara checking to see if I was safe. Mary's messages were exactly as I expected. Eli, please just talk to me. You don't understand everything. We can fix this if you let us. I'm scared, please come home. And then. I need to know if we're still married. That made me laugh. Quietly, but still. Ray's messages were shorter, angry at first, then confused, then angry again. Brother, you set us up. It's not what you think. We need to talk, man to man. Answer the phone. Men like him always go through several stages: dominance, denial, despair. He was stuck between the second and third. I read Tara's message last. Are you okay? Do you need anything? Say something so I know you're alive. I replied. I'm alive. Not at home. Don't worry. She replied instantly. Then answer one question: what's the next step? I stared at my phone. The next step was already in motion. Witnesses leave traces, psychological ones. When people like Mara and Ray feel eyes on them, they start acting like cornered animals. They flinch. They panic. They give themselves away. All I could do was wait. I went to work as if nothing had happened. My young mechanic, Jalen, raised an eyebrow when he saw that I had come in early. You look like you slept on a rock, he said. I did, I replied. He laughed, thinking it was a joke. By noon, half the town knew something had happened. I could tell by the way customers looked at me, by the way conversations stopped when I walked by. But no one asked, and I didn't tell. Let the whispers grow. Let Mara hear them before she hears it from me. Around 2 o'clock, Ray burst into the store. Loud footsteps, loud breathing, the kind of guy who doesn't know how to enter a room quietly. Where is he? He thundered. I came out of my office. Here, I said. His face was red, his neck tense, his fists clenched. You didn't have to do that, he muttered. Bring people in. Show the video. What the hell was that? Evidence, I said. You humiliated her. You humiliated me. You did that yourself. He pointed his finger at me. You think you're not to blame. You think you're some kind of saint. You pushed her away. You ignored her. She was lonely. Then she should have left, I said. Instead of crawling into your truck. He clenched his jaw. I loved her. I raised an eyebrow. You love every woman who texts you after midnight. You don't know. I know enough, I said. He moved closer. Too close. Jalen tensed behind him, ready to swing the wrench if necessary. Are you trying to provoke me? Ray growled. No, I said. I'm trying to finish the conversation you started a year ago. What conversation? You decided how much our friendship was worth, I said. You just never told me the price. For a moment, I thought he might hit me. But men like Ray don't hit unless they're sure someone will stop them. No audience, no punch. He took a step back. This isn't over, he said. It is for me. He ran out, slamming the store door so hard that the windows rattled. Jalen exhaled. Damn, he said. What was that? Old business, I replied. It's settled now. But it wasn't settled. Not completely. Not yet. By Wednesday, Mara was no longer panicking, she was strategizing. She showed up at my rented apartment just after sunset. I knew she would come eventually. When I opened the door, she seemed smaller than I remembered. Her makeup was perfect, her hair and clothes chosen to look casual, but her eyes were red. Can we talk? She asked. No, I said. But you can talk. She entered hesitantly, as if entering sacred ground. She looked around, bare walls, no photographs, no memories. Do you live here? She asked quietly. For now. You didn't take anything from home. I didn't want anything from home. She shuddered. Ellie. I'm sorry. I know it won't fix anything. I know you don't want to hear this. But I have to say it. Okay, I said. You said it. I didn't move. I didn't offer her a seat. She twisted her hands. I was lonely. You were always working. You stopped looking at me. Ray made me feel wanted, I said. Special. Noticed. I know the script. It wasn't a script, she whispered. It was a choice, I said. Time and time again. For a year. She swallowed hard. I'm done with it, she said. With him. It's over. I told him I'm choosing you. I almost laughed. Choosing me? I repeated. Like I'm some coat you forgot in the closet. Her calmness vanished. I don't want to lose you. I don't want to lose our life. You have lost it, I said. You just haven't felt it yet. She moved closer. Please, she said. We can fix this. People get through betrayals. They get stronger. We can go to a therapist. We can start over. No, I said. One word. But it fell like a hammer. Then she broke down, real tears, real trembling, real collapse. She fell to her knees, grabbing my hands. Eli, please. I'll do anything. Tell me what you want. Tell me how to fix this. Tell me what to do. I looked at her. It was the moment people dream of when they are betrayed, knees on the floor, confessions pouring out, power returning to where it belongs. But power wasn't the main thing. What mattered was peace. There's nothing to fix, I said. There's only a clean way to end this, or a dirty way. I'm offering the clean way. She cried even harder. Do you hate me? She asked. No, I said. I just don't need you anymore. She froze. She could handle pleas. She could handle anger. But indifference? Indifference was death. She slowly got up, wiped her face, and something new appeared in her expression, fear mixed with calculation. You know, she whispered, if they find out about this, people will judge. My job. My family. Everyone. That's not my problem, I said. She narrowed her eyes slightly. But you won't tell them. Right? You won't let Lena tell them. Lena only talks when I ask her to, I said. She held her breath. You're blackmailing me. No, I said. I'm giving you the chance to leave quietly. It's mercy. She shook her head, backing away toward the door. You're not the man I knew, she whispered. No, I said. And you never knew me as well as you thought you did. She left without saying a word. I closed the door behind her. One more step taken. One left. I waited until Thursday, exactly 1 week after the TV betrayed her. Ray broke first. He showed up at Ruck's with red eyes, drunk, so loud that the bartender sent me a warning. He told anyone who would listen that I had set him up, that Mara had deceived us both, that he was the real victim. Just what I needed. I went to Ruck's, walked in the door like any other night. The conversation stopped. People stared at us. Ray staggered over. You ruined my life, he mumbled. No, I said. You ruined it yourself. You think you're so smart, he spat. You think you're better than me. No, I said. Just calmer. He swung at me. Clumsily. Off balance. It was obvious from a mile away. I stepped aside. He hit the bar, breaking his fingers. The bartender and 2 regulars grabbed him. Are you done? I asked calmly. He shouted something incomprehensible. I turned to Lena, who appeared behind the bar with her arms crossed. Did you record everything? I asked. Oh, yes, she said, raising her phone. I recorded everything. Ray froze. He knew what that meant. A drunken, jealous, violent outburst in a public place. Recorded? In a city this size? Reputation dead. Any chance of sympathy dead. Influence lost. I moved closer to him, so close he could smell the smoke from the cigarette Lena had smoked earlier. This is the last time you stand in front of me, I said quietly. The next time you even mention my name, it better be when someone asks who you used to know. He looked at me, breathing heavily. Then he broke down. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Just, he collapsed inside. His shoulders slumped. His eyes lost their fire. He knew it was over. I left him there. Outside, Tara texted me. Heard what happened. Are you okay? I replied. Yes. It's over. She replied. Are you sure? I looked up at the stars. The same bright ones. The same silence. Yes. The next morning, I went to Ortiz's office. Mara signed the papers. Ortiz looked up at me. She asked if you changed your mind, he said. I told her you hadn't. Okay, I replied. He slid the last document across the table. Sign here, Camaro. I signed. The moment the pen left the paper, something changed in my chest. Not relief. Not triumph. Just clarity. I walked out of the notary's office, sunlight falling on my face, dust blowing down the street. My phone vibrated. One last message. From Mary. What now? I stared at it. Then I turned off my phone. I didn't reply. And that was the end of it. If you want more stories that spark your imagination, subscribe to the channel and come back for the next chapter. There's always another tale waiting.